Archiving started.
Hello everyone, this is Jim McCormick, and for this week 5 Women video, I want to first of all cover the idea of how you can use a lookup field to help enhance your tables. So with your application assignment this week, you need to do a few things on your existing database to do some enhancements with your tables. And so doing a lookup column is actually one nice way of doing that, where we'll look up information from another table and essentially create a drop-down box so you can choose the entry you want to put into that field in the table you're working on. So it's a very nice, handy feature and really a nice enhancement that allows better data entry into the table that you're working on and getting correct information into that table. So I'm going to pop open a database here. And I've got basically an orders table right here showing. This is a table that you would maybe have typically as you collect orders from your customers. It's got an order ID field, a customer ID field, part, and the cost of the part that they order from us. Now in this case, the field I want to do a lookup on is the customer ID. As you're maybe collecting orders from customers that are calling in or from the website, whatever, getting this customer ID field or this information for the customer ID field could be a little problematic because the customers likely are not going to know their own customer ID, and then actually the person doing your data entry may have a lot of issues with maybe trying to be able to look up efficiently the customer ID for the individual person. So one way to do this is actually create a lookup column where actually we'll look up the names of the customers from the customers table. And I'll just open up the customers table real quickly here. So here's my customers table, and you can see I've got my customer ID field. This is actually a primary key field in the table. Then also I've got the customer name right next to it. So what we can do is actually create a lookup column that will bring in the names of these customers and make it much easier for someone doing data entry to actually enter in that information into that field. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started with creating this lookup column for my customer ID field. And we're going to do this in design view of the table. So I'm going to hit on the view button. And we'll go up to the customer ID field and we're going to go in the data type. So what we're going to do is we're going to start basically a lookup wizard to tell Access what table and what field we want to bring in for this customer ID field in this orders table. So I'll click on lookup wizard. I'm going to leave this first option selected, so I'm going to look up column to look up values in a table or query. That's what I want. I will hit next. And I am going to use the customers table as my basis, so that's fine as it's selected. You may have to select another table based on what you're doing. I will hit next. And which fields contain the values you want to include in your lookup column, and the fields you select become columns in your lookup column. So this is where you want to put in maybe not only the ID, but also the actual value that you want to be showing in that field in your table. So I'm going to use both the ID and the customer name fields. And if we want to, we can just display both of these columns as we'll see coming up next. Or if you want, you can just hide the customer ID field, but then just see the names, which makes it maybe even easier to pick out the actual customer that you need to insert in that field. I'll hit next. Do you want to do a sort on the items in your list box? And yeah, so doing a sort. Now, my example, I've only got 3 customers, so doing a sort's really not going to do anything special for me based on it's very easy to look through 3 names, whether they're in ascending order, mixed up, or whatever the case might be. If you've got hundreds or thousands of names, yeah, doing a sort can be very helpful for finding the right name and having it sorted properly. So I'm going to go sort on a customer name just as an example of how you can do that. I will hit next and hide the key column. So in this case, it's going to hide my customer ID column, which is not really that important to me anyways, but it's actually linking these names for me so I can actually see these names, and this is what I want. So I'm going to just leave these customer names showing. But I check that box, and also you would be seeing the customer ID column like this in the drop-down box for that field. So again, it's kind of 6 on one, half dozen on the other, but I don't think this customer ID field is really needed. It can be hidden in this case. So I'm good with that, and now I'm going to choose next. What name do you want to give for the column? I'm just going to leave it as customer ID. This checkbox for allow multiple values, I don't really need that because I'm only going to have 1 customer per order. If you felt like you're going to have a situation where you're going to have multiple customers per order, at least in my situation, I would check that off. But Not going to happen for mine, so I'm just going to have one customer per order. So I'm going to leave that unchecked, and I'll hit finish. So you got to save the table for relations can be created. Save now. Yep. So now the other thing is, as you're doing this, creating a lookup wizard, you need to go back later, if needed, and actually create the relationships between these two tables. So if you initially had a relationship between these two tables, you actually have to break the relationship, because Access will tell you how to do that, create your lookup wizard, and then go back and reestablish the relationship. So it's not a big deal, but just gives you a little bit of work to do in the relationships window for Access. So that'll be something that you can easily take care of either before you start this process. So I didn't have a relationship built already, so that's why I didn't see that kind of a message box appear initially. All right, now when I go back to my orders table, now you see I now show my customer IDs as names versus the 1 or the 2, and that's kind of a nice situation. And then if I will go ahead and pretend I'm putting in another order, I now get this nice little drop-down box, and I can choose a name I want. So it makes it very convenient to go ahead and do data entry. And it's something that I think you'll want to definitely take advantage of in a lot of your situations when you may be using Access and having multiple tables and having to put in some information that's maybe not always easy to put in for a particular field. The lookup wizard does a really nice job and allows you to choose from the actual entries you want to choose and add into a particular field for record in your table. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. I've actually got a second video that I created. I had a little technical difficulty with Wimba, so I had to kind of break this up into 2 videos. And so my second one is showing input wizards, which also can be input masks, which can be very nice for using on phone numbers or zip codes. So you can check out that video as well. It shows you another nice example of doing a table enhancement, which is what you need to do. So you should try to do at least a couple of table enhancements this week for your application assignment. Have any questions, please contact me. Check out the second video, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.